Good evening and welcome to Wrestling Rewind. I am your host, Angel Amoroso, and I am here with my co-host, the Iron Man, Tommy Cairo. Tommy?
Hey, how are you tonight?
Great. And this evening we are picking up Wrestling Rewind with some wrestling archives and doing part 2 of the highlights of pro wrestling in the year 1983. So if you saw last week, we're just picking up where we left off. And this is some great stuff, some interesting stuff that, I didn't know half of it. So I'm hoping that you'll learn something. Tommy?
Yeah, and rather than just drone on and read the results, because of our experience and our years in the business, there's a lot of places where we're going to weigh in because we may know a little something. We may be able to relate a story. And we'll try not to do that too much, but that's the beauty of having us doing this rather than people who don't have experience in the business, because we've worked with these people, we've traveled with them, we know other stories. So sometimes more than the people that are writing. So don't just bear with us. You'll learn more with us adding our 2 cents, but we'll try to keep it to a minimum. Very tough, though.
Absolutely. So moving on, here goes the continuation of the highlights in professional wrestling in 1983. Tommy?
Yep, and what you can do is picture yourself as a worker during this time and go along on the trip and see where you're going to go, what these guys did, travel all over the place, day after day, night after night. We were talking earlier, wrestling took place every day of the week, year round. Sometimes twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. And a lot of these places, the people came out every week for years. So they really were invested because they were a part of everything that went on progressively. So here we're going to go now to WWF in Pittsburgh at the Civic Arena. Attendance 10,000. Pete Sanchez pinned Charlie Fulton. S.D. Jones pinned Johnny Rodz. Salvatore Bellomo pinned Baron Miguel Safluna. And the Wild Samoans, Appa and Sika, defeated Eddie Gilbert and Kurt Hennig. Big John Studd defeated Jules Strongbow. WWF champion Bob Backlund pinned Intercontinental champion Don Morocco. Boy, they did that a lot. Which, they put 2 of their titles in one match instead of having 2 separate. So, anyway, in a Texas death match, Ray Stevens defeated Pedro Morales via countout, and Rocky Johnson defeated superstar Billy Graham via DQ. No love for Billy Graham, man.
Not this year.
No.
Not 83. 83 this is, right? Or 84?
Yeah.
83.
83.
So, okay, yeah.
Hey, it's about business. It's about business, right?
I guess so.
So I just, I thought he was so great, and I just thought that they should have let him keep the title for a while. He was the first face heel. Like, the people turned him because he was so charismatic. Nobody had a body like that. And Bobby Backlund used the illegal chokeholds, choking my soppers. I was guessing for air. Tell him, Wiz. Best. Right. Anyway, we're going over to Sarasota, Florida, where Dusty Rhodes is still under the mask as the Midnight Rider, and he defeated, once again, NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair, but did not win the title. They're really giving him a hard time, aren't they?
Yeah, it seems like.
Where are we? Oh, here's a good one right here. On the 13th of February, NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair fought Andre the Giant to a double count out in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, wow.
You don't want to work with Andre unless he likes you.
It sounds like an interesting one.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
I'd like to catch it on YouTube.
I'm sure Ric Flair was like a little cautious.
You think? I think anyone would be cautious if they were smart.
Yeah, who wants a receipt from him? Yeah. Anyway, you're lucky he don't shit on you because it happened to more than one person.
Exactly. Right.
All right, so Hulk Hogan defeated Jesse Ventura, and Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell defeated Ken Patera and Bobby Duncombe at the Civic Center in St. Paul. Draw 16,000. Now we're going over to Memphis at the Mid-South Coliseum. Again, sold out 6,437. Kenya Condori pinned Bobby Fulton. I don't know who that is. Sweet Brown Sugar Coco Beware pinned Coco Samoa. Jesse Barr drew Dutch Mantel. Bobby Eaton pinned King Cobra. Bill Dundee beat Apocalypse and Mike Boyer via forfeit. Fabulous One, Steve Kerr and Stan Lane beat U.S. Tag Team Champions, the Executioners, via DQ. And Bobby Eaton beat Bill Dundee via DQ. Sweet Brown Sugar pinned Jesse Barr. Terry Taylor beat Jerry Roberts in a no DQ match to win the Southern title. And Bobby Eaton beat Sweet Brown Sugar to win the vacant Mid-America title. AWA World Champion Nick Bockwinkel pinned Jerry Lawler. And then over in sunny West Palm Beach, NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair defeated Barry Windham in a steel cage match. On the 15th of February, 83, in Tampa, Florida, Terry Allen, Magnum TA, and Midnight Rider, Dusty Rhodes, defeated the Kangaroos, Kent and Heffernan, to win the global tag team titles, but Midnight Rider gives up the belt to Scott McGee. Also, NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair defeated Scott McGee. In Hamburg, PA, on the 16th, Rocky Johnson wins the WWF Intercontinental title from Don Morocco in Hamburg, but it was later changed to a DQ due to interference by Captain Lou Albano. The TV commentator left viewers in doubt as to whether or not they had seen a title change. Okay, in Ocala, Florida, at the High Life Fronton, NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair defeated Barry Windham. In WWF action in New York City at Madison Square Garden, Jose Estrada defeated Kurt Hennig. Johnny Rods defeated Baron Miguel Cicluna. Mr. Fuji defeated Tony Garea, and Big John Studd defeated Jules Strongbow. Ray Stevens defeated Chief Jay Strongbow. WWF Intercontinental Champion Don Morocco defeated WWF Champion Bob Backlund by DQ. Rocky Johnson defeated Superstar Billy Graham, managed by the Grand Wizard by countout. Andre the Giant and Jimmy Snuka defeated the Wild Samoans, managed by Captain Lou. Eddie Gilbert defeated Charlie Fulton. Salvatore Paloma defeated Sweet Hansen. Pedro Morales defeated Buddy Rhodes. Now we go over to the Spectrum. You might have been there.
What year was this?
83?
Nah, not 83. And not till 84.
Okay. Now, it says Jose Estrada. Jose Estrada, I believe, was one of the first WWF junior heavyweight champions, and also teamed often with Johnny Rods.
Yeah.
So that was right. And then I think it was Fujinami, and it was Black Tiger, and it was Cobra, who was another light heavyweight guy. And I wish they would have kept that. That was their only tie to an international style. And by having Tatsumi Fujinami as your WWF Junior Heavyweight Champion, which eventually, of course, Dynamite Kid, Tiger Mask, all of those, it was all from that generation. Right. I don't know why they didn't keep that title, because that was ushering in the light heavyweights at an early time before it was, real popular. And with the action that those guys were able to provide, in contrast to the big guys, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was like, wow.
Yeah, and they should have really had a title, kept the title to appreciate them, because they were different.
Exactly.
But, you want to put them in a different category, then you give them a different title belt. It's only
absolutely. I saw a match last night that was an hour match. I saw a portion of it from Calgary because we were talking about it. A skinny Dynamite Kid just over here, just gotten here, was maybe 150 pounds against Bret Hart, and literally both had bloody noses, beating the crap out of each other, and it was like phenomenal. And they, like I tell you, I mean, he was skinny, even skinnier than Bret was Dynamite, but it was real. It was like it looked. It was, because they literally beat the crap out of each other. And I give Bret Hart a lot of credit. He didn't take a back seat. He didn't back down.
Yes, sometimes size doesn't matter. Size does not matter with a lot of
work like that. Nope. Yep. So, all right. AWA in Rockford, Illinois, saw Nick Bockwinkel to beat Hulk Hogan by DQ to retain the title. This is right before Hogan left to go to Vince. In Memphis, on the 20th, at the Mid-South Coliseum, 4,965, Jerry Lawler defeated AWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Bockwinkel by forfeit. Bockwinkel arrived late to the arena. As a substitute match, Austin Idol defeated Jerry Lawler in a no DQ match. Sweet Brown Sugar defeated Bobby Eaton for the Mid-American title, and Adrian Street and Jesse Barr beat the Fabulous Ones, Kern and Lane, to win the Southern Tag Team titles. Kern pinned Street, but the day's referee declared the wrong winners. Now we're going up to freezing cold Toronto, Canada, at Maple Leaf Gardens. 13,098. Rudy Kay and Nick DiCarlo battled Private Jim Nelson and Tim Garrard into a draw. Johnny Weaver defeated Bobby Bass. No class Bobby Bass. What a name, right? The Destroyer Dick Barry defeated Terry Kay, and Leo Burke battled Tony Parisi to a double countout. Sal Balomo defeated Ray Stevens by DQ, and Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood defeated Sergeant Slaughter and Don Cornudo. NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair defeated Terry Funk. I remember seeing the title change, Terry Funk beating Ric Flair on TV on Florida Championship Wrestling. I remember that. Let's see. Oh, here we go to New Zealand, Auckland. Ric Flair defends the NWA World Heavyweight title in Auckland, New Zealand, defeating Mark Lewin. So take a look at where he's been just in this little bit. He put two guys over in some two third world countries.
And friggin', I mean,
now he's in New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand, Trinidad. It's like it's spread. He's literally going and defending all around the world, which a lot of promotions advertise world champions, but never really traveled the world. Which you know, and the NWA, that's what made the NWA what it was. Is that they the National Wrestling Alliance, but they had a world title and they covered the entire world, and they got everybody over. Yes. So if Ric Flair once a year put over Jack Veneno, that place was good till next year. They rode high on that. Our guy beat Ric Flair, man. And he did that all over. And the other thing is, in his book he wrote about, he didn't sleep. It took him like 6 months, 8 months. He went to the doctor, he had a breakdown, and he finally figured it out, and never thinking about it. I really don't sleep. So maybe that could contribute to it. But how do you sleep? Times differences, jet lag. Exactly. You're partying, and that takes a real. That takes more intestinal fortitude than to do everything right and by the book. Right. That's a true professional. And you live the life, and you're still able to perform. That's a true professional. Character and discipline. That's what makes, like we were talking about last night, people who spend any time in this business. That's what makes them head and shoulders above any normal average bear running around, because average people can't do what we do. When somebody said to me, "You went a round trip, turn and burn 24 hours to get your son's car at 64 years old with no rest. I took 2 breaks. One was twice to use the bathroom and once to stop and get something to drink." I'm like, that's not that hard. People are complaining, I got an hour and a half ride. Hour and a half ride. That's nothing to people like nothing. That have sat in cars for 11 to 24 hours at times to get to our destination. So, yeah. That's why after many years of people leaving the business, they still live by a similar schedule, like Jimmy Powers. He's up until all hours, and then you get up a little late, and you follow basically the same pattern you would if you were working, if you were wrestling. Right. So it gets in your system. It's a hard routine to break. And I always thought I did better nights, working nightclub, wrestling. So who knows? All right, where we're going to go right now to New Zealand. He did the title match in Auckland on the 24th, and then the next day they were in New Plymouth. So they even had to travel within New Zealand, and that's probably could be hours apart. NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair defeats Mark Lewin
in New Plymouth, New Zealand. The Purple Haze.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the difference just for the hell of it between those two places. And in the AWA in St. Paul, Minnesota, Brad Rheingans has battled AWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Bockwinkel to a draw. Hulk Hogan beat Mr. Saito and David Schultz. Wow. I can't believe Saito would do that. Maybe put him over in his singles, but that doesn't make you look too good when he does. What's that?
Was this a three-way match?
No, it was a handicap. I mean, those are two pretty big names.
Yeah.
Right? Mark Lewin,
David Schultz.
David Schultz, Dr. D, and Saito?
Right, yeah, that's odd.
Wow. Crazy. All right. So that was, like I said, Christchurch, New Zealand. So it's another New Zealand. NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair defeats Mark Lewin in Christchurch, New Zealand. And then the next day, in Dunedin, Ric Flair continues his tour of New Zealand against Mark Lewin, this time wrestling him in Dunedin. Mark Lewin was very big in New Zealand and Australia. The Gillette Cup is held by WWC Promotion, with Carlos Colon winning at Hiram Bithorn Stadium, San Juan, Puerto Rico, with 12,000 fans. They couldn't get enough of him.
Obviously.
At the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, Ole Anderson and Bud Sawyer battled Stan Hansen and masked superstar Bill Eadie. Graciously put me over, no question, nothing. I felt bad. I was like, no, let's do it a different finish. Don't just put me over clean. He's like, nah, brother, it's okay.
Good for you.
I was all right. I tried,
Right.
So that was in Dunedin, Gillette Cup, and then we talk about Jerry Lawler. Now we're going over to that was Atlanta. I'm sorry, the Army, and then next day AWA, Colorado. Jerry Lawler beat Sergeant Rene Goulet. Rick Martel, first we've heard of him now in a while, or for the first time, beat Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan's still wrestling. Mad Dog Bashan and Vern Gagne beat Sheik LKC and Jerry Blackwell. And Wahoo McDaniel battled Ken Patera to a no contest. Hulk Hogan beat Jesse Ventura by DQ in an arm wrestling match. All right, and here we go. Again, in Invercargill, New Zealand, NWA World Champion Ric Flair faces Mark Lewin. It didn't say who won. In San Antonio, Texas, Bob Sweeten defeated Tully Blanchard for the Southwest Heavyweight title. Mid-South Coliseum, Memphis, Tennessee, 4,500 people. Bobby Eaton defeated Sweet Brown Sugar in a loser-leave town match to win the Mid-America title. Back to New Zealand. Ric Flair defeats Mark Lewin to retain the title in Auckland. There is a brawl after the match, and Lewin leaves ringside with the belt. WWF champion Bob Backlund defeated WWF Intercontinental champion Don Morocco in Monaco, PA. They must have worked well together. They did a lot of matches. In the AWA, world champion Nick Bockwinkel defeated Hulk Hogan by DQ in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And a lot of times we don't really include Nick Bockwinkel as much as a lot of other guys. But if you look at him in contrast to Hogan, he was the gentleman, spoke with class, spoke eloquently, very intelligent, dressed, always had the suit.
Bockwinkel was amazing and worked, well into his older ages.
Right.
Your friend Carmine DeSpirito, big fan, used to book him all the time, and he would draw wherever he was booked at any age, and was one of those distinguished gentlemen in wrestling that was, probably not given the credit that he deserved, actually.
Yeah, I mean, what a contrast between Hogan in a T-shirt and Bockwinkel and Flair in suits.
Yeah.
Just like dumbed it right down. You know what I mean? I don't know. I prefer, I don't care how you speak, but if you look classy, it even makes you be classy when you're not being classy. A little bit. You dress sharp, you look good. Nobody can take that away from you. Dress
for the job you want.
Yeah. All right. here he is again. Okay, this name is big in New Zealand. NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair continues his tour of New Zealand. This time his opponent is promoter and wrestler Steve Rickard in Hamilton, New Zealand. He was huge. They had a show called On the Mat, and it was filmed in New Zealand, and he was the commentator. And if you go back and watch that, some really cool stuff. It was a very progressive-looking set. It looked very professional, like ahead of its time. And you can find it on YouTube, On the Mat from New Zealand. And Steve Rickard was the main guy there. Okay, on the 3rd, we're in March, on the 5th, NWA World Heavyweight Champion goes from one side of the world to the other. Tonight he wrestles against and defeats Denny Brown on Georgia Championship Wrestling in Atlanta, Georgia at the WTDS studios. So that was from New Zealand to Georgia. All right. WWF in San Diego, California, 5,000 people. First WWF wrestling show in the Bay Area. I was going to say, I don't remember back then them going too much to California. And it's the first one. Jack Armstrong fought the Great Yatsu to a draw. So here we're going to tell you right off the bat. And next one is Billy Anderson. So what they did was they only took so many guys from here, sent them to California, but filled out the rest of the card with mainstays from that area, from California Championship Wrestling, from working at the Olympic Auditorium, because both Jack Armstrong and Billy Anderson were both big in those smaller promotions in California. Right. They were probably tickled pink to be on the card and probably work for nothing. Yeah. So then also we got Pat Patterson defeated Jerry Monty, another California guy. Buddy Rose defeated Tony Garea. WWF Intercontinental Champion Don Morocco defeated Jules Strongbow. Chief Jay Strongbow defeated Black Gordon, one of my favorites. Pedro Morales defeated Superstar Billy Graham via DQ. Andre the Giant defeated Mr. Fuji and Alexis Smirnoff in a handicap match. WWF Champion Bob Backlund defeated Ray Stevens. And Andre the Giant won a 17-man battle royal. He must have been pissed to have to stay until the end, you know?
Right. Maybe someone drove him in late.
Yeah. The Wild Samoans, this is Los Angeles. Opensika, managed by Captain Lou, defeated Jules and Jay Strongbow to win the WWF Tag Team titles in Los Angeles, California. Now, we are, where is it? Let me tell you where. Southeastern Championship Wrestling. Bob Armstrong defeated Jimmy Golden to win the NWA Southeastern title in Birmingham, Alabama in a Texas death match. Mr. Olympia, who's Jerry Stubbs, won a tournament to get a shot at NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair. Mr. Olympia was over. Jerry Stubbs. Big draw for many, many years in that area. Back to the Mid-South Coliseum, drawing 5,600. Jim Dalton beat Sabu, who was Coco Samoa. Terry Taylor and Ricky Morton drew. The Galaxians, Ken Wayne and Danny Davis, they turned out to be, they were somebody else after that, too, with that same similar type of gimmick. Dutch Mantel pinned Jerry Roberts in a loser leaves town match. And Bill Dundee and Steve-O beat the Sheep Herders, Jonathan Lloyd and Luke Williams Boyd, in a back alley street brawl match. Stagger Lee, Coco Beware, again under a mask, pinned Bobby Eaton to win the Mid-America title. Southern Tag Team Champions, the Fabulous Ones, Colonel Lane, beat Adrian Street and Jesse Barr, and Jerry Lawler pinned Austin Idol to win the CWA International title. So Ken Wayne and Danny Davis, they worked as another.
Hands.
What's that? Yeah.
Roll our hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. See, if I don't remember it, you do, so we're good. And in Tampa, Florida, the Kangaroos, Kent and Heffernan, defeated Terry Allen and Scott McGee to win the Global Tag Team titles. So I'm assuming this is Florida Championship Wrestling, but I do not recall the Global title, so I don't know.
It sounds like Continental a little bit.
Oh, maybe.
Continental Wrestling Federation, CWF.
Yeah.
There's another off of the end, right?
Did they run in Florida?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. All right. Now we're going out.
Mistaken.
Yeah. We're going out to Salt Lake City, AWA, attendance 10,400. That was probably everybody in the state. Darvon Rasky defeated Bobby Heenan by countout. Fabulous Moolah defeated Sabrina. Jerry, I just keep thinking of the interview, that little gimmick they did on the Iron Sheik, talking about that trip where he threw Moolah out of the car.
Oh.
Fuck the Moolah. She don't like the medicine. Wendy Victor liked the medicine. Who's with them, I don't remember. Like the medicine. You don't like the medicine? Get the fuck out.
Oh, Sheiky.
Classic. I'll be so. I hope he lives forever, that guy. Anyway. Funny. Jimmy Golden. Yeah, that was another big. Those guys were big down there because they were all related to the people that ran everything, the promoters. All right. We're going to AWA Houston, Texas. Chavo Guerrero defeated AWA World Champion Nick Bockwinkel by DQ at the same Houston Coliseum in Houston, Texas. Also on the show, Tiger Conway Jr. and Mr. Wrestling 2, Johnny Walker, defeated Ted DiBiase and Matt Bourne to win the Mid-South Tag Team title. Tiger Conway Jr., another second or third generation. Now we're going to Jim Crockett Promotions, Hampton, Virginia, Coliseum, attendance 5,000. NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair defeated Dory Funk Jr. Roddy Piper defeated Dick Slater. Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood won a tag team match, opponents unknown. Terry Shane and Joyce Grable won a tag team match, opponents unknown. But it says a little article here from the newspaper, Flair keeps title. Ric Flair successfully defended his World Championship Wrestling title Friday night before some 5,000 fans at the Hampton Coliseum. So Flair defeated Dory Funk Jr. in a big match of the night. And just got the undercard. So here we go. Continuing with Jim Crockett Promotions, a big show for Jim Crockett Promotions takes place at the Greensboro, North Carolina Coliseum. Attendance 15,547. Sellout with an estimated 3,000 to 5,000 fans turned away. I believe it.
Wow.
Yeah. The results: Jerry Briscoe defeated Ken Timms. Mike Rotundo defeated Rick Harris, a.k.a. Black Bart. Jim Nelson, a.k.a. Bar Zukov, and Johnny Weaver defeated Red Dog, Lane, and Gene Anderson. Roddy Piper defeated Dick Slater, but did not win the Mid-Atlantic TV title as the time limit for the title portion of the match had expired. NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair battled NWA U.S. Champion Greg Valentine to a 60-minute time limit draw. On top of all that travel, you're doing 60-minute Broadway's a lot. Crazy. And that's after all the partying and everything. I would be curled up in a fetal position, like, go away, I'm not coming. You know?
Right. And he's still at it.
Oh my God. All right, so we got Dr. Noodle Tone. Steel cage match with Jay Youngblood and Rick Steamboat against Sergeant Slaughter and Don Cornoodle in a no time limit steel cage match, and they won the NWA Tag Team titles. On Southeastern Championship Wrestling from the Dothan, Alabama television studio, the Mongolian Stomper, who we talked about last night, Archie Gouldy, turns heel on Austin Idol in an angle known as the Cure for Idolmania, where the Mongolian Stomper was a hired hitman for NWA World Champion Ric Flair. WWF at an evening show in Landover, Maryland at the Capitol Center results. Eddie Gilbert and Tony Gurria defeated Mr. Fuji and Sweet Hansen. Pedro Holmes defeated Johnny Rhodes, and Ray Stevens defeated S.D. Jones. Rocky Johnson defeated Baron Miguel Scicluna. Pete Sanchez went to a draw with Jose Estrada. Big John Studd defeated Chief Jay Strongbow. Jimmy Snuka defeated Superstar Graham in a Texas death match. Andre the Giant won a battle royal. Participants included Big John Studd, Mr. Fuji, Rocky Johnson, Appa, Sika, S.D. Jones, Chief Jay Strongbow, Ray Stevens, Jules Strongbow, Sweet Hansen, Pedro Morales, Tony Gurria, Baron Miguel Scicluna, Salvatore Bellomo, Charlie Fulton, Eddie Gilbert, Jose Estrada, Pete Sanchez, and Johnny Rhodes. WWF champion Bob Backlund defeated Intercontinental champion Don Morocco in a Texas death match. At an afternoon show In Maryland, Wild Samoan Sika suffers a broken hip in a tag team match and is replaced for a time by Samuel, Samoan number 3. On television, the injury was never addressed, and old matches of the Samoans played instead, and they continue their run as WWF Tag Team Champion. Very smart. On the same show, Big John Studd defeated WWF Champion Bob Backlund by DQ.
I just want to say that stay tuned for Wrestling Rewind. In future episodes, we actually have a titled show on the history of African Americans in professional wrestling from the golden era all the way up to current. So stay tuned for that, because as you mentioned, this Battle Royal, you noticed that there were, I think, the African American gentlemen outnumbered the Caucasians there.
Wow, I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Wow. That's, there's so much to the difference in the eras, including stuff that we were laughing last night. Like, we don't want to be held responsible for all the negative connotation or the negative remarks, because that was the times. So instead of getting more liberal as time went on, we got more liberal in the wrong things and more, conservative in the wrong things. Everybody's so sensitive now. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Really doesn't.
Sticks and stones may break my bones.
Yes, but my point is to even do a show like that is to prove that now a lot of African Americans are saying, like, oh, they're getting now's their time, and in the past there's only been tokens, and that's not true. And you'll learn that when you watch this show, because there's a long, illustrious history of African Americans in professional wrestling that didn't just start this past year or in the past decade. It started a very long time.
Explain the star power of Bobo Brazil.
Exactly. Ernie and people that we're around. But continue, please.
Yeah. Okay. Where are we going to go now? We're going over to St. Paul, Minnesota. I remember this guy was bald, and he wasn't Steve Regal. You remember him for the AWS?
Yes.
He was a good worker. He battled Buck Zumhofe to a draw. Kurt Hennig beat Sergeant Rene Goulet. Bram Rheingans beat John Tolos. Sheik Adnan LKC and Jerry Blackwell beat Mad Dog Vachon and Baron Von Raschke. Hulk Hogan and Greg Valentine and Jim Brunzell beat Bobby Heenan, Ken Patera, and Jesse Ventura. AWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Bockwinkel beat Rick Martel. Now we're going over to World Class Championship Wrestling on the 14th of March. In Fort Worth, Texas, Will Rogers Coliseum, attendance 8,000. The largest crowd in Fort Worth wrestling history. King Kong Bundy from New Jersey, right, defeats the Texan Jake Roberts. Little Coco defeats the Billy the Kid. Jimmy Garvin defeats Brian Adias. And Iceman Parsons defeats Killer Carl Krupp. Ken Mantell defeats Bill Irwin. The Great Kabuki defeats Tola Yatsu by DQ. World-class world six-man tag champions, the Fabulous Freebirds, Buddy Roberts and Michael Hayes and Curry Gordy, defeat the Von Erichs, David Von Erich, Curry Von Erich, and Kevin Von Erich. So that six-man thing was good at it. The people were behind it because it had all their, Von Erichs in one match. Boy, those guys were freaking over. That TV show was monumental. That were using camera angles, multiple angles, doing stuff that nobody had done before. It looked like the big time.
And it's a six-man tag team. Any the titles, a great idea to bring a six-man tag team title into the mix. Gave people something different to look at. A lot more guys wrestling in a ring, but the matches I found were always a lot better because guys got the rest in between and figure out what they were going to do. And you hardly seen a six-man match where there was a lot of botches.
Right.
Because of the dynamic of so many opponents being there, it gave them a lot of time to rest in between, figure out what they were going to do, and make the match just spectacular. I love six-man tag team matches, and Yeah,
in this case, it has meaning, but when we were in ECW, it was so stupid. Like, put these three guys against those three guys. First it would be me and JT Smith against. There weren't always six mans, but some of just the matches that they threw together were like made no sense and never continued. There was no angle. There was no nothing.
Guys weren't a regular faction, but like with the Freebirds and the Russians and Nikolai and Ivan and Vladimir and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then they actually had actual guys who were three guys together all the time, who then were available with the Von Erichs and whatnot for the 6-man tag, which was a really fun option to have and to watch.
Yep, I loved it. All right, so this is Tampa, Florida. Frank Dusek defeated Barry Windham. I didn't even know that any Duseks were still alive to win the Southern Florida heavyweight title on TV in Tampa, Florida. Now we're going to the WWF in Steubenville, Ohio. Beautiful downtown Steubenville. At the St. John's Arena, attendance 6,500. Jose Estrada pinned Bill Dixon. Sal Bellomo pinned Mac Rivera. Jimmy Snuka pinned Ray Stevens, and superstar Billy Graham pinned Pete Sanchez. Baron Miguel Secunda pinned Joe Abbey. Rocky Johnson and Andre the Giant defeated Wild Samoan Alpha and Captain Lou Albano, donning the trunks, via countout. We go over to the Boston Garden, WWF, attendance 16,000. Jose Estrada defeated Pete Doherty. I love that guy. Pete Sanchez defeated Baron Miguel Secunda. Tony Gurria defeated Fred Marcino, and Chief Jay Strongbow defeated Lou Albano. Iron Mike Sharp defeated S.D. Jones. WWF champion Bob Backlund defeated Don Morocco. Rocky Johnson defeated superstar Billy Graham. Andre the Giant defeated Big John Studd. Oh, Andre didn't like Big John Studd. When Studd really was stupid, he went and put his leg over the top rope. That's Andre's thing. You don't do that. Andre hated him from that time on. And there's probably no one else who could have handled Big John Studd.
Battle of the big guys back in the day, I mean, hell, if you could beat him, beat him.
And you know what? It was funny because Studd must have said something about, what he said, Andre, in response to him stepping over the rope was during a match when he was beating his ass, he said, "I'm the only giant," in reference to only the giant steps over the top rope. He was trying to make a statement by doing that, saying, "Look, I'm not that much shorter than you." And in reality, he really wasn't, because Andre was nowhere near 7'4". He was about 7 foot. And with other guys, some of them being 6'9", 6'8", some of them. Ernie Ladd was 6'9", So, I mean, of course, he was tall and one of a kind. But when you saw other guys that you knew weren't, and supposedly nowhere near 7'4", but they weren't that far off of the height of Andre. But yeah, he hated him, and he let him know it. And he also hated the Iron Sheik. Couldn't stand him. All right, we're going to go to Philadelphia Arena, Philadelphia, PA, WWF, the Spectrum. Ray Stevens pins Jules Strongbow. Bob Backlund and Andre the Giant and Jimmy Snuka defeated Big John Studd, Samoa Alpha, and Lou Albano. S.D. Jones defeated Baron Miguel Secunda. Jose Estrada defeated Pete Sanchez. Don Morocco defeated Rocky Johnson. And now we're going to the Garden. Look at this attendance. On March 20th, New York City, Madison Square Garden, with an attendance of 26,109. Now, the main building of the Garden only holds 22,000. The rest of them were in what was unheard of at the time, closed-circuit TV, fed from the big room to the Felt Forum, which existed inside the Garden and held about 3,000 people. So, and I don't believe there was no commentary being fed through there. And during those times, when you first got cable back in the day, during those times, they would run a live feed from Madison Square Garden on MSG Network, but there would be no commentary, and you would only hear what you heard if you were in there in attendance, because they didn't get to dub over it was being done live. So that was big. I'm like, who cares? You can't. It's like you had secretly snuck in to watch the show, And once a month from the Garden, you could turn that on. They just put a camera on and live feed. It's awesome.
Stuff. Great stuff.
Back in the time where you didn't have to pay for everything, you know?
Right.
All right. We're in the Garden, and we got 26,000 people. Mac Rivera defeated Baron Miguel Sakuna. Tony Gurria defeated Johnny Rods. S.D. Jones defeated Jose Estrada. Poncho Boy and Sonny Boy Hayes, obviously the midgets, defeated Farmer Pete and Butch Cassidy. Superstar Billy Graham, managed by the Grand Wizard, defeated Jules Strongbow. Salvatore Bellomo battled Ray Stevens to a double countout. WWF champion Bob Backlund defeated WWF Intercontinental champion Don Morocco in a Texas death match. And Andre the Giant and Rocky Johnson and Jimmy Snuka defeated Big John Studd, Alpha and Captain Lou Albano in a best 3 out of 5 falls match. So depending on one that happened between Studd and Andre, if it happened before this, boy, he might have had all these matches that they were in together that he could stick it to him. You know?
Right.
And when you can consider that you're Big John Studd and you have to be afraid of somebody, you know, that's a big monster you're worried about. Because he was a big guy. All right, now we're going to go to Atlanta, Georgia, at the Omni. One of my favorites all time, Tim Brooks. Killer Tim Brooks defeated Paul Orndorff to win the NWA National Heavyweight title, which will be sold to Larry Zbyszko. Tommy Rich defeated Larry Zbyszko. Canadian Lumberjack match, Stan Hansen and masked superstar Bill Eadie defeated Ole Anderson and Buzz Sawyer. Dick Murdoch defeated Ivan Koloff by DQ. Tony Atlas defeated Iron Sheik. Brad Armstrong and Ray Candy defeated Paul Ellering and Moondog Rex. Brett Sawyer battled Joe Lightfoot to a draw, and Brian Blair beat Chick Donovan. Over to Denver, Colorado, in the NWA, Hulk Hogan battled Jesse Ventura to a no contest. We're right on the brink of when things are about to break here. Jerry Lawler beat Ken Patera. Wow. Bram Rygans beat John Tolis. Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell beat Sheik Adnan LKC and Jerry Blackwell. AWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Bockwinkel beat Rick Martel. I have to I have to decipher some of these wins, which should have been the other way around or some other way around it, as some kind of punishment somewhere along the line. When you hear
a lot of spitefulness with a lot of different people, these results, like you're going to lose because you did something we don't like.
Yeah, for this match to not be a fuck finish, Jerry Lawler beat Ken Patera? I don't think so. So Patera was being punished for something. Mm-hmm. All right. Again, Mid-South Coliseum, 6,162. Sonny King. Do you remember Sonny King? Yeah. I love Sonny King. He was awesome. Pinned Carl Fergie. Duke Myers pinned Bobby Fulton. Steve-O pinned Jonathan Boyd. The Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson beat the Galaxians, Ken Wayne and Danny Davis. I got to decline this phone.
Okay.
Bill Dundee pinned Terry Taylor to win the Southern title. Stagger Lee and Jerry Lawler and Andre the Giant beat Pork Chop Cash. Remember him? Moondog and Bobby Eaton. Pork Chop Cash was another like a junkyard dog kind of guy. Very over.
So tell me, where are we? Where are we here?
Oh.
We're at about February.
Yes, your volume is down.
Okay, so we're at about February 1983, the highlights of 1983 in professional wrestling. And this is part 2. So we're obviously going to have to come back and get to part 3. So please join us next week for part 3 of the highlights of 1983 in professional wrestling. So join us every week Sunday at 7 p.m., hosted by Monty and Pharaoh on YouTube. So join us next week as we continue this highlight.
We'll hit the road again.
Yes, we'll hit the road again and rewind it all the way back to 83 for precious moments in time. Until then, for my co-host, the Iron Man, Tommy Cairo, and myself, Angel Amoroso, have a nice night and a nice life.
See you.
Good night.